We never want to wake up and decide that we want to exploit underage workers in Southeast Asia by, wearing a t-shirt. We don't want to destroy the environment by taking our car to work. We don't want to not pay the farmer justly by getting a Starbucks coffee, but often we still do.
Hey, what is poppin', ReFi Nation? John here with my new co-host, Maya Dentzel of ReFi Podcast, hosting a conversation with Tereza and Juan from ReFi Medellín about the story of regeneration locally in a city in Colombia that is doing some incredible work, onboarding people into the Web3 movement through local events and conversations about regeneration. I really appreciated this dialogue, going deep into the origin story and some of the working mechanics of a local node that's hosted over 35 events in the last 12 months and has done probably more work than anyone else in the space to make local nodes a thing on the map in the broader public goods movement. This was a really interesting conversation for me, Maya, but I'm curious for you what you're taking away with your first episode as a co-host of ReFi Podcast.
Thanks, John, and hi, ReFi fam. So great to be on this side of the mic. I just feel so inspired after this conversation. I think Tereza and Juan really emphasized the collaborative spirit of ReFi as a movement, the emphasis on community support and mutual aid, but also constant experimentation and creativity, and also staying on top of all the technological tools that are out there. I think there's definitely a lot to learn from what ReFi Medellín is doing. So I hope you tune into the episode.
Amazing, fam. Drop us a 5-star review if you enjoy the show and share it with anyone that you know would resonate with this story. Thanks for your time, and we'll see you on the other side. Peace.
See ya.
This is so cool to have 3 beautiful humans dialing in from all over the world for a special episode of ReFi Podcast. Here today we have Juan, Tereza from ReFi Medellín, some of the pioneers of the local node movement, as well as Maya Dentzel, one of the core leaders in the community who's stepping up alongside Tereza to take over ReFi Podcast for season 4. Want to check in with each of you today, see where you're calling in from, and what you're excited to talk about. I'll kick it off with you, Tereza.
Thanks, John. Super excited to be here today. I'm currently calling in from the Czech Republic, visiting my family, and super excited to talk about Medellin and everything we're doing there.
Amazing. How about you, Juan? Where are you calling in from, brother?
Hey, I'm calling from Medellin, here in a coffee shop, just surrounded by nature.
Amazing. Love it, dude. So good to have you. This conversation is so long overdue, man. I'm sorry it's taken me ages. I've gone through a journey, and I knew we had to have this chat before handing over the baton to Maya and Tereza. So thanks for your patience. What about you, Maya? Where are you calling in from?
Hey, friends. I'm calling from Santa Barbara, California. I don't have any nature sounds, though, but I love that nature immersion that you have, Juan. I feel like that sets such a perfect tone for the conversation on regeneration. I'm stoked to learn about what you two have been up to at ReFi Medellín.
Love it. And before we dive into the stuff you guys are doing in Medellin, I would love to hear what you guys are thinking about for ReFi Podcast Season 4 and who you're going to talk to, what it's going to be like, how it's going to be different. Why don't you kick us off, Maya? What's your lens?
Sure. First of all, thanks, John, for entrusting us into taking over the new season of ReFi Podcast. It's really such an honor for us to take over. And we kind of want to build off of your work from the past 3 seasons and kind of expand on what we mean by ReFi. What is regenerative finance? Dig a little bit deeper into kind of the entire spectrum of regeneration, from the foundational philosophy, economic principles, and some other innovative technologies and new projects that have been building. So in the theme for the podcast is the regeneration nexus. Tereza, do you want to explain what we mean by the nexus?
Yeah, so as Maya said, we were kind of thinking about how to tell an integral regenerative story. And we really believe that, that comes together for 3 different things: the system economic thinking, the real world impact and the technology. So for us, these three things together are the nexus. But I also believe that the nexus, manifests through different ways. We are really looking to expand beyond just Web3 and invite many Web2 speakers on. So it's also a nexus of different backgrounds, different stories, different people. So we are super excited for that.
I love it. I think that's so good. And this notion of ecological succession is so important, where I was so fortunate during my time at Toucan to have an amazing community give support through Gitcoin, monetary value, to say, hey, we believe in you. We don't know who you are, but like ReFi Podcast sounds like a worthy thing. And I'm just very grateful to have met amazing storytellers and community leaders who want to take on the baton for the next show and learn from you guys, see what way you perceive this movement that we're building together, and have a chance to explore other things. So I'll share more about what I am working up to next. But for now, I'd love to turn the view into what you guys are building in Medellin. For those who don't know your project, who haven't seen you fundraising on Twitter, who haven't seen you making all of this noise around community in Medellin, I'd love for you to just describe what you're up to. What is ReFi Medellin? And yeah, I'll kick it off with you, Juan, because I feel like you are a major part of bringing that to life.
What is ReFi Medellin? ReFi Medellin, I think, is a community that is growing in Medellin, and kind of every day trying to involve more people into the core team, into the community, and like every day trying to explore different ways to engage with the people and let people know about ReFi, what is ReFi, why is good, and what is ReFi for. So yeah, I think that is ReFi Medellin, and ReFi Medellin started 1 year ago. When you open the ReFi DAO's challenge, and we decided to go for it.
I love it, man. And you guys went for it. I have to say, you really, really went for it. I remember ReFi Lisboa, I was like juggling a bunch of different hats, and I was like, dang, these guys are going hard. They're fundraising on Twitter all day long, and they really mean business. So it's been really fun learning from what you guys have done. And I'd be curious to tap into each of your personal journeys, like what motivated you to get involved, why ReFi, why local community building, but wanted to get your lens, Tereza, on ReFi Medellin and the community that you're building, and any specific insights that you've had that you want to share with other people who want to know what you guys are up to.
Yeah. Well, as you noticed and as you mentioned, I think that the ReFi Medellin community is very passionate. So I've been loving being a part of it. When it comes to my personal journey in ReFi, living in Medellin, it's, very easy to notice the need for ReFi. I mean, Colombia is the second most biodiverse country in the world. You see many social issues wherever you go in Medellin. So, kind of started engaging with that part of it. And then learning about Web3, I think, seeing how it can become the coordination machine for us and, give us access to, global community that can engage and interact in different ways was a huge thing for me. So kind of seeing that and bringing that together is kind of the personal motivation for me, but I can share some stories about it later as well.
Awesome. You guys definitely have a lot of passion. I agree with John that ReFi Medellin is such an inspiration for all local nodes out there. So can you maybe walk us through the journey of ReFi Medellin, maybe briefly share about the timeline? What did you start with? What were your first steps? Maybe some major achievements that you're proud of that you want to share with our audience as well?
I can start with that one. So in my personal journey, learning about ReFi more and more, I actually applied for the ReFi Spring Grant, last March or February, and ran the first regenerative finance event in Medellin, and, started noticing a lot of things like that. My first interaction or experience with regeneration, I think, goes way back to one day when we were at high school, and they took us to a little community center where they were recycling. They had community gardens there and all that, and they made us play a game there. And it was interesting because we were split into 5 different groups, and we were basically role-playing fishing companies. And, after 30 minutes, the game was over, and the game was over because there were no more fish. There was nothing else to do in the, in the sea. And they made us play again. And, like the game was about optimizing kind of your, I don't know, the size of your fishing net and how big your boats are going to be. But the result was the same. Like, the game was over because we had nothing else to do. The fish were gone. So, what I learned from that is that we lost because we were playing a finite game. Like the game that is, played with the purpose of winning. But I don't think that's the game we want to be playing in this world. We want to be playing infinite games, games that can be repeated and, games that are collaborative, not competitive. So I think that was my first ReFi lesson and kind of really dove into that in my first regenerative finance event in March last year. And then I got approached by Marcelo saying like, hey, we're starting this ReFi DAO local node incubator. Would you like to join? And I was like, oh, I would love to, but I'm not sure if I want to do it alone. And that's how I connected with Juan, who was also building a regenerative finance project in Medellin at the same time. And together we were like, okay, let's do it.
Yeah. And what was the project, Juan, that you were building at the time? And why did this appeal to you? Because one of the core theses we had was we wanted multiple founders to come together to start these nodes.
Yeah, like going back before the project, like I was always involved in regenerative things because my studies was in regenerative things in agriculture and environmental and economic stuff. So like kind of all those mixed together and also technical things. So I have been always working with the government and trying to help the farmers near Medellin, in the department in Antioquia, and trying to protect some lands, to protect the water for the Medellin people. But working with the government is like, okay, you want to do something, but it's kind of struggling because of bureaucracy and all this stuff. So I decided to start a project that is Green Digital Guardians, and we want to protect the lands. So I have been working in that project like for 1 year, and I just noticed the open call for the ReFi local nodes, and I say like, okay, I'm doing this project, but nobody here in Medellin knows about blockchain and knows about blockchain can be used for good. So I think if we start a local node, we can explain and involve more people in this kind of things, and it's gonna be good for the community, and it's gonna be also good for the project because people can understand more what is the project for and why I am building that project. So I talked to Teresa and I said like, hey, you wanna start this ReFi local node with me, and we need to find 2-3 more people, and we just like when you throw to the lake and just see what happens.
Amazing. It's quite an interesting aspect that you had this blockchain startup already that was focused on preserving land locally and recognized that it was an opportunity to build community around your venture and around the ecosystem as a whole. And obviously, like having grant capital available makes like hosting event a lot easier because it is tough. And I think that was one of the big blessings from our relationship with Climate Collective and Cello Foundation was the fact that they so understood the importance of gathering in person. And our emphasis was very much around the global south, emerging economies, places with rich natural habitats and existing biodiversity in place. And it's with that view that I would be curious to understand some of the problems that you felt called to serve in your local community as you were starting ReFi Medellín. I'll ask you, Teresa, what that process was like of identifying the problems and connecting with the community and what you've begun to do to respond to the challenges that are emerging in ReFi Medellín on the ground.
Yeah, definitely. I think, when I talk about ReFi, when I think about our daily lives, it doesn't have to be just in Medellin, but globally, we never want to wake up and decide that we want to exploit underage workers in Southeast Asia by, wearing a t-shirt. We don't want to destroy the environment by taking our car to work. We don't want to not pay the farmer justly by getting a Starbucks coffee, but often we still do. And there's not many alternatives. And I feel like many people are very hungry. We have a lot of appetite for these alternatives, but somehow they're still not very out there. And I think for us, kind of trying to, offer these alternative narratives and offer spaces for discussion, I think that sense making is a huge part of our work, just like bringing the two communities together and discussing these things. I think nobody, knows the right answer to everything, especially with Web3. We are still all, exploring it. So it's really great to come together and discuss these things with the community and say like, hey, why is this a problem? How can we solve this? What are some of the needs in your community? How do you interact with that? And I think that, having very diverse members of the community has been such a powerful thing, because we have people that have decades of experience working in NGOs. We have people that are studying sustainability. We have people that are engineers. We have people, they're just passionate about sustainable fashion and things like that. So having that dialogue, I think, and, understanding the needs of each community has been really, really great.
I love the emphasis on the discussion, and I'm actually curious to dive a little bit deeper there. If maybe you can share what kinds of events do you host at ReFi Medellin? Maybe you have like your favorite event format. Can you walk us through some of the events you've hosted before? Share what kind of what type of event brings the most value in your view, and what maybe emerged out of some of these events. Juan, you want to tell us a bit more?
Yeah, I think at the beginning, like the ReFi Medellín, we think about how to teach people about blockchain without having this sense that we are trying to bring them, like forcing them to come to blockchain. Because people in Colombia and in Latin America have suffered from a lot of scam, and they don't trust in blockchain. So we try to find a different way. So we decide to do just natural activities. So we decide to do a hike, the first hike to a hill that we have imagined, to just do some kind of sport. And at the end, just talk about blockchain and what we can do with blockchain. And it was successful. Like people say like, oh, it's really nice. So from this starting, we decided to do more activities like that. So we have been doing hikings to the river. We have been doing planting activities. We have been doing like urban farming with the community and with the local government also. And from these activities, we start exploring a lot of activities like yoga classes, like we identify also that blockchain is only in English and people has those barriers to access. So we decided to do an English class. We partnered with the army. So the army didn't open a wallet, but they know they are receiving funds from blockchain. It's a first step to start approaching them. Like making a deal with the army is kind of hard, but I have a lot of friends that just come to me and ask like, hey, we need some funds. Can you connect us with some politicians to give some funds? And I say, you don't need them. We can help you. So that this kind of connections.
You don't need politicians. We got you.
Yeah. Like just give me your bank account and I will transfer you the money. It doesn't matter.
That's the power of blockchain right there, man. Money speaks.
Yeah. And for example, this next Sunday, we are going to do the Sundays in Medellin, the government closed roads and allow people to go on and ride bicycle or ride any kind of sports. And we are gonna be there giving water to people and trying to onboard them. And this space are managed by a government entity. We talk with them and they say like, we cannot sign anything, but if you want to do, just do it. So we are just taking the space that the government is not taking. And at the end, they're gonna keep partnering with us. There is a lot of activities, but maybe Teresa has some other activities that wants to highlight.
Yes, Juan said there's a few. I think my favorite activity that we've done ever was in our collaboration with a local NGO called Salvaterra. And it was basically planting a community garden in, a park in Medellin. And it was just so awesome because first of all, we, got to interact with, nature in the city and, but also like the people that walked around. And that was the most amazing part. We were just like literally with our hands dirty, planting, I don't know, tomatoes and basil and different things. And people walking past by, they were like, oh, I want to help, like hold my dog. I want to dig a hole for a tree. And it was so amazing to see the community actually appreciating these spaces and wanting to interact with these spaces. So that's why I mentioned earlier that I really see the appetite for these type of interactions. And it's great that we're trying to provide that space.
Love that. Yeah, the hands in the soil as a regenerative community is so important. I really appreciated the ReFi Week gathering that we hosted with TDF, just planting trees together and doing it alongside Jimmy and Gmo, like super deep tree gurus. It was such fun. And I'm curious, Teresa, to lean into how this work relates to what you're doing at Funding the Commons. I think there's some really interesting inquiries going on around how to fund public goods and how to take care of the commons. You gave the fishing tragedy as an opening framing, but I'd love to hear a little bit more around your work there and how it relates and what you're learning and what insights are emerging.
Yeah, I think it's the problem that as a society, we are failing to fund what matters to us, right? And we've been doing that for a while. And that's why I like so much Gregor Londa's perspective of 8 forms of capital, because often I have conversations with people and they're like, well, but it doesn't really pay off, does it? And I'm like, well, it does, but in different ways. And I feel like as a society, we are shifting towards that more and more. And you see consumer brands as well, incorporating more sustainability language in their marketing. So I really feel that collectively we are now going through this shift in consciousness. And I think that both Funding the Commons and ReFi Medellín are ultimately trying to solve the same problem, which is like, how can we channel funds into what's meaningful to us as communities? I think Funding the Commons does it on the grand scale, enabling these conversations all around the world. I hope that ReFi Medellín also becomes kind of an experiment ground where we can put some of these learnings in practice. We've been kind of trying to do that a little bit with different mechanisms like our lending protocol, which could be, I guess, considered that as well. I hope we also kind of supported a little bit with the Ethereum Colombia quadratic funding round that happened. We're kind of, also interacting with that. So hopefully we can do more of that in the future, especially I think on the local level. It could be very valuable to also understand what our community values the most, or where we should have our eyes focused on.
I love the emphasis on like the local and the change in that perception. I think, Juan, you mentioned earlier, right, that Colombia has been the victim of a lot of scams, and how to change that perception from like crypto is bad to how can we use Web3 tools to fund what matters, what Teresa was saying. So can you talk a bit more about how you approach this onboarding process? How do you change some of those perceptions among locals? How do you grow your community, your membership? What worked, what didn't work in that process?
Yeah, I think we have some interesting examples about that. Like, for example, the English course is something that we identify that people need English. And we just decide to do an English course and give it free for the people. So at the beginning, we say, like, to be part of the English course, you need an NFT of ReFi Medellín. But there was a lot of people that don't have an NFT, don't have a wallet. So we say, it doesn't matter. Just anyone that wants to take the course, take the course. But inside the course, every class we make a POAP and people claim the POAP. They don't know what is a POAP. They don't know anything, but they are claiming the POAPs. And then we start like doing some activities like some homeworks and raffles. We give like $20 for the best homework or whatever. So people are getting into crypto without notice, and they are being part of the Telegram group and stuff like that. This is for normal people. And in the hikes, we also talk to the people, and people say like, okay, we do a hike to the river, and we do a competition. The people that pick up more garbage win $50. So people need to open a wallet to receive the $50. And for example, with the business or with the normal NGOs, we do a partnership with Salvaterra, and at the beginning they don't trust me. They just do the partnership because I was like an old friend of them, and they trust me, but they don't trust in blockchain. But when they participate in the first Gcon round and they get money to give it, and they can pay the marketing stuff for them, and they can pay for some debts that they have. They say, okay, we can get money from blockchain, and we can keep doing the activities that we normally do. Because with the government, you have a budget until December, and you need to do a lot of lobby and sign a new contract like in March or April. So these four months are 4 months that you have to stop activities, and activities in the ground never stop.
Super interesting. I think this idea of a soft onboarding where you're meeting community needs immediately and giving value first and foremost, making crypto a nice to have, an additional element, and then using gifts and rewards through incentivizing those positive behaviors is a really interesting framing. And I'd love to go a little deeper into this lending protocol that you guys described. I don't know which of you is best suited to speak about that, but what is it? Where did it come from? What problem is it trying to solve? Yeah, jump on.
Yeah, I think in Colombia we have a big problem, and in all Latin America with micro lending. And if you go to a bank, they offer you a high interest rate, and a lot of people has no bank account because a lot of people, for example, migration people from Venezuela, they don't have a bank account because they are not legal, and a lot of problems like that. So in Colombia, the micro lending, the illegal micro lending, just offer to the people loans at a very high interest rates, like could be like 10% a week. So, and they just extortionate you. I don't know if is the right word in English, but
yeah, it's the right word. Extortionate. That is extortionate.
It's just an extortion. If you don't pay, they just kill you, bro. It's just simple. They kill you, or kill your mother, or whatever. But people need the money, and if you get one of those credits, you are not gonna get out never of the credit. So we decide to give those credits at a interest rate of 0.5 monthly. It's nothing. It's just to cover the maintenance of the platform. And we are giving those credits without collateral, because if somebody needs money, it's because they don't have money. So if you ask for collateral, it doesn't make sense. But how you can give money without collateral? So it needs to be like a reputation score. So we ask people to fill out a form, explain what is the credit for. They have to be in 3 past activities of ReFi Medellín. They have to have participated. Wow. And yeah, because I mean, if people don't participate in ReFi Medellín activities, why we are gonna help them? You need to deserve the help. And they also need to put 3 people to vouch for them. So let's say I'm gonna take a credit. You, Teresa, and Maya are gonna sign my credit request, and I will be able to take the credit. If I don't pay, they are not gonna believe me anymore. They are not gonna believe Teresa, you, and Maya, because you recommend me. So it's kind of building a reputation score. And we, at the moment, we have 20K in Glow Dollar in the lending platform. We are using the Celo blockchain, Polygon, and Optimism. And together we have 20K in this lending platform to give lends to the people. And there are 10 persons that already have taken some loans. They haven't repaid the loans because they are super new. And we are not opening too much this lending platform, because taking a loan in a foreign currency maybe is not a good like idea, because if the dollar goes up, it's gonna be kind of difficult. So the people that is taking those loans is people that is into crypto and receive payments on dollars. But with Celo, I am working to launch a Colombian peso stablecoin. So when we get this Colombian peso stablecoin that is super near to happen, like 1 month or 2 months, we are gonna keep giving loans in USD Glow because we want to support USD Glow too. But we are gonna change some liquidity for Colombian peso to give loans in the local currency.
Wow. I love this as a pilot project of real community impact on the ground. I can't wait to hear how this lending protocol project is going to progress and grow. I'm curious in terms of like the process. So you give out some of those loans. How do you ask them to report back on how they spend the money, or is it up to them to do whatever they want with it? Like, is it specifically for regeneration for projects? Any sort of accountability that comes with those loans?
I think the projects and the loans are not for projects. The loans are for personal necessities. So if you have a bad situation, or you need to take a course, or you need to buy a laptop because you need it for your studies, or if your mother gets sick or something like that, they put this in the form. And we are not giving loans for just travel or for a party, or no, they are loans for help the people, because when you have like a personal situation, you need somebody to give you a hand.
I can see why your community is so strong. That the mutual aid element in Medellin is just really inspiring. And speaking of kind of those members and people you help out, can you give us a little overview the kinds of people who are part of ReFi Medellin local node? Are they mostly kind of Web3 enthusiasts? What's kind of their demographic like? Are they environmentalists? Maybe like an overview of the kinds of people who are drawn to your node?
I think it's really a mix of all that, to be honest. I think generally it's younger people, students that are very interested in technology. They want to, hang out at different events. I think that's probably the biggest kind of demographic group, but we really have a little bit of everything. The other day I was chatting with an old lady at our event who got onboarded to Web3 by her grandson, sorry. And I thought it was super cool that, she goes to our events and wants to learn more. Awesome. So yeah, a little bit of everything, but it's cool. It's cool to have that.
And you mentioned $20,000 in liquidity for the lending protocol. Can you guys give us a snapshot of, just in general, how much money you've raised to date so far, and how many events you've run, any other kind of key metrics or indicators of the progress you've made, whoever wants to take that?
What do you ask? Like how much money, what?
Yeah, like how much money have you guys raised in total, and how many events have you done? Like, do you just have any kind of key stats or indicators about those two things?
I don't have like the numbers, and I think could be like 50K maybe in total. I don't have an exact number, but it could be like 50K in total.
Okay.
Because, for example, with the OP retro funding, we received the OP token. We still have the OP token. We haven't swapped the OP token. So it depends if OP goes up or goes down. And in terms of activities, I think we have done like environmental activities, kind of 15, 20. And there is other activity that is always hosted by Teresa, because Teresa is the one that always say, I want to do a panel, and just bring some local projects, Web2 and Web3, to talk about the different things. I think we have done like 3, 4, 5 panels. I don't know, really. I don't know, because I didn't know you are gonna ask that, and I am really bad to keep track of the numbers.
I think Anna, because we did celebrate our first birthday in April, and Anna, who manages our social media, I think she did like a count, and it was around 35 events in that year that we ran. So that's probably around that.
Wow, that's incredible. It's such an amazing milestone. And I'd want to lean into what your success has been on the fundraising side. Like, what have you done? How have you set that up from an operations perspective? How can other local nodes get started with fundraising based upon what you've learned? I don't know if that's better for you, Teresa, or you, Juan, but I'd love to dive into your fundraising strategy. What activities you do, what kind of resource you have towards it, because you guys have definitely, seemingly cracked the code there.
I think Teresa can say something, and I think I can complement.
Well, I would just say like really being out there. And, I will say that as a communications person, but if you don't do marketing, you don't exist. And I think that's been our big strength. And I know many people don't want to do that. They are just like, oh, but we want to do the real work. And I understand that it's true. But still, even if you want to move to impact verification in the future, you still need to record your work in some way, whether that's metrics, whether that's pictures, whether that's number of attendees. But I think we've been really good at kind of, pushing this to the world and showing the work we've been doing, and just connecting with many people. And Juan has done a great job on, in keeping an eye on different grant opportunities and the different rounds, because sometimes it's also like when people ask us or they say, oh, like you've been so lucky and stuff. And no, we have been there. We have, checked the requirements. We have spent time on the applications. We have, reach out to other people, see how we do it right. Juan has done a great work, like always being in Discord, always asking questions on how to figure these things out. So I would say like really being persistent and putting ourselves out there has been the key.
Yeah, I would say like, if you want to do marketing, you need some inputs to do marketing. For example, if you go to our Luma calendar, you can see all the events we have been done. And we are super strict, like people need to register in Luma. And for example, with the English course, we are doing a pop-up for every class. Those are on-chain metrics. And I always keep an eye in Discord. People don't like to be in Discord, but I just keep an eye every Discord that exists, asking questions, like trying to fill out the application and asking how to filling out the karma gap is kind of is new and it's difficult, but I am in Discord asking like, hey, can you move the project because the project is linked to the multi-sign, but I want to manage the project with the MetaMask. It's a lot of stuff behind, and this is part of the success. But at the end, is people donating to us, so we need to be part of Twitter, Instagram, Lens, Farcaster, everything, and we need to be in all the Telegram groups that exist, and also being in real life events and talking about ReFi Medellín. It also helped a lot because people know who is behind the project.
I think just one thing that I would add here also is, just like the partnerships and always being curious about what we can do. And I think that, for example, what happened with Glow is the perfect example of that, because I came across Glow, I think last September. And I was like, this is exactly what we need, because it's making our project more regenerative, right? If we can just hold currency and help fight extreme poverty at the time, or now it's public goods as well. So it's amazing. But we were like, oh, this is exactly what we need. So we became a member of the Glow Consortium, which also helped us with a lot of like co-marketing efforts and, just like always being curious and also thinking of your partners, because then it always comes back to you as well. If you help others, they're more likely to help you. It's this beautiful kind of snowball effect of mutual help and empathy and collaboration. So I think that's been also like a big thing for us.
Yeah, I think this is one of the perfect like examples of the team in ReFi Medellín, because I'm not good talking to people. So, but Teresa bring people. Teresa bring Glododel and say like, hey, I have been talking with those guys. What do you think? And I just ask a lot of questions, like how is Glododel bucket, how it works, etc. And I say like, okay, it seems good. If you think it's gonna be a good partnership, let's do it. But Teresa brings the opportunity, and that's like everyone has a different role and a different talent in the team. And another good thing from the team is now we have a new member in the team that born in the community. Just a kid like 18 years old or 19, I don't know. He just appeared in an activity, and he is studying in the university, and he started coming to a lot of activities and helping us, and he he received some money, and he learned how to spend that money, and he said like, okay, I trust you and I want to be part of this. And one day he said like, I need to buy a laptop. I'm gonna try to find a job. And I said like, you don't need to find a job to be a waiter or to be a delivery man. They're gonna pay you $10 a day. If you organize a ReFi Medellín activity, you are doing exercise, you are planting trees, you are doing good things, and you are receiving
So
30 bucks,
freaking
50
cool.
bucks. So come and join us, and he's super happy with us.
Wow. Wow. I love that. And thank you for being real. I love your point, Teresa, that, the success of ReFi Medellin is not a coincidence, right? It's an intentional effort and putting yourselves out there, building those partnerships. And Juan, you being so diligent with all the grant applications, all the deadlines, playing around with all the latest tools like Karma Gap. That's a lot of work, and putting that work that's what determines your success, it looks like. And thanks for sharing what worked. And I'm curious to hear more about what maybe didn't work, or what would you have done differently, let's say if you were starting the node now, maybe for all the new nodes out there, to hear some of the advice and maybe some of the challenges that you want to warn us against and lessons learned. Maybe, Teresa, do you want to take it away?
Mm-hmm. Sure. Yeah, I think that what took us some time to figure out definitely was the team dynamics. And I'm quite happy to say that now I think we finally gotten there, but it was certainly a process. We have our Telegram group, but like first kind of, I think we all always have good intentions, but people have different ideas on how to get to that common goal, right? And how is that going to look, and who's going to contribute what, and who's going to do, or like where do your limits end and where do mine start, and all that. So I think figuring that out has, taken us some time. And I think everyone that has ever, collaborated in a DAO, understands what I mean. But I think what has helped us a lot was really, like Juan mentioned, defining roles and responsibilities, because then everyone feels that they own something. And I think that's been really important, like knowing that you have a place in this organization and you know what's expected of you, and, you're responsible for something. So that's one thing that I would say. The second thing I would say that we could have done better probably was tracking our impact or our work like more early on. For example, now, and we've learned that, as we've kind of experimented with different events or different tools. For example, we've recently started sending Luma invites to new events to everyone that went to our past events, and that has really increased our sign up rate. So these things, really maybe taking our time more with the tools and understanding how we use them could have helped us generate more impact in the beginning. But I think it's part of the process, kind of learning along the way.
You want to do in one way, but if you do this way, could be benefit for some things, but could be worse for other things. So for example, all our events are in Luma, because at the beginning, like ReFi DAO say like, okay, we want to track the events on Luma, and ReFi DAO is co-host of our calendar. But now there is like a movement, like people is moving from Luma to Lemonade. But if we jump into Lemonade right now, we need to teach again the community how to use Lemonade. So it's difficult. And we need, I think one thing I want to do better is how to communicate to the community, how to do kind of manuals or easy, like step-by-step things, because I'm not the person that can explain you very good the things, uh, but we need somebody to make those like step-by-step procedures to explain the people, and people is gonna be more engaged. This is something that we are missing.
And I'm curious how you approach governance, decision making, spending money, all of that. Like how does that work? Because that is definitely the kind of pivot moment for small teams growing into larger communities.
Yeah, I think just coordinating in the Telegram group for now has been key. We have monthly meetings where we discuss kind of, what each member is going to work on. And then I think we run on polls a lot, for governance. Somebody has a suggestion like, hey, I want to do an event on Saturday. Do you agree? They share some info. They put a poll. That's been kind of the most effective way for now.
Nice. So you're not doing proposal-based governance or anything yet. It's basically polls within the Telegram group, and you guys are just doing it lightweight, ad hoc on that basis. Okay, cool. Super interesting.
Exactly.
Yeah, because we are a small group, so and it's kind of difficult because not all the people in the group is kind of Web3 native. So if we implement like Chromaware or something like that, people need to do more things. People need to learn more things, and the decision making is gonna be more slow. But we have multi signs, and the multi sign has some signers. And for example, the lawyer needs to sign every transaction. And for example,
Okay.
in a multi sign, we have like a multi sign of 3 or 5, but I always ask to have the 5 signs. We only need 3, but it's better if 5 people sign, because it's like a consensus to execute that transaction.
Okay, interesting. So you use multi-sigs to kind of maintain a little bit of that oversight and transparency. And fascinating, they have a lawyer involved as well. I know we're getting into the weeds of some of the governance and community stuff, but these are the things that slow local node teams down is, team dynamics, how to make decisions, spend money. And it seems like you guys have taken a very lightweight and lean approach. I'd be curious to dive into a little bit more around what's happening in Colombia as a whole. I was very fascinated to see after you guys sprung up, there were a bunch of other local nodes in Colombia that came online, and there seems to be a bit of a network forming, and just curious, what happened, how that's working together, and if you're seeing any interesting network effects by having more nodes within a given region.
I think it was kind of interesting because we started with ReFi Medellín, and nobody trusts, nobody give us a cent. And when ReFi Medellín success and start doing a lot of activities, and people start seeing like ReFi Medellín is doing a lot of things. One day I was in a conference in Bogota, and a girl that was texting me in Telegram, and I didn't pay attention, not because I don't want, it's because I get distracted. And she say like, hey, I want to open ReFi Bogota, I want to do this, I want to do that. And I say like, but why do you want to do that? Because you need to be super clear for the local nodes founders that local nodes is not to get a job or to make money. It's just to build community and to help people. You can pay some people, but at the beginning, all is free work, and it demands a lot of time. So those girls come to me, and I say like, okay, you can do it. If we can help you, and we say like, okay, ReFi Medellín can give you $100 to open the node, because starting a node without funds is kind of difficult. And ReFi Bogota started, and ReFi Bogota started, and those girls do a lot of activities. They do a lot of activities. They are really bad raising funds, and I was always saying like, you need to learn how to raise funds. You need to get better on that, because you do a lot of activities, but you are not raising funds, and this is insustainable. And after Bogota, some other people decide to open Cartagena, that is in the coast, And Saravena open, and Saravena do a lot of activities, but Saravena suffer of a situation that needs to close the node. That we don't want to talk about that, but and the last one was ReFi Atlantico that some friends just referred to me. And I say like, okay, bro, but this is not to make money. What is your background, whatever. And I always say to people, you can do whatever you want. If you want to open a node, just create a Twitter account and start building community. But we can support you and we can give you advice and feedback. And this guy of Atlantico is really nice. Man, those guys start like 2 months ago, and they are doing cleanup activities in the beach. They make a super intuitive and clear Instagram post explaining what is ReFi Atlantico, and they are engaging a lot of people. So when we saw that we have a lot of local nodes, some of us say like, why we don't have like an umbrella to cover us, and we decided to create ReFi Colombia. So ReFi Colombia has a representative of each local node, and the idea of ReFi Colombia is not to support financially the nodes, it's just to to give them more exposure, to coordinate some activities, and to try to cover the place where there are not local nodes and foster the creation of new local nodes. This is the mission of ReFi Colombia, and every local node needs to raise their own funds and needs to do their own activities.
Wow. Wow. I love this big vision behind pushing regeneration forward in Colombia as a whole. And I'm curious, going back to ReFi Medellin as a local node, what's next? What kind of projects are you cooking up? What are you excited about? What can we expect from ReFi Medellin in the future? And can you maybe share your vision for the next year? Congrats, by the way, on your birthday. So what's next for year two of ReFi Medellin? Tereza, you want to share?
Yeah, so I think it's still, keeping building this space where we all meet and discuss regeneration. I think that's what I would really like for us to become more than anything else. I think it's great if we do impact activities and we do tree planting and all that. But ultimately, I think that there are many people that know how to make impact better than we do. But I think what we are really good at is being the bridge, bringing these people together, connecting them, saying, hey, actually, I know someone that can help you, or I know someone that can teach you something. And I really want for us to really become that force, not just in Medellin, but also in Antioquia, which is the state, but also help coordinate these connections in the country. Because what I really like about ReFi, and I think Juan kind of implied that, is that it's a home for people that are curious about these topics. They want to, make an impact in their community. They want to bring their community together as well. So I really want to be pushing that forward. Ultimately, just like ReFi DAO, our goal would be to acquire land and protect it. So hopefully we'll be able to do that. We have already started like putting some money aside for that purpose. So that's our goal for, I guess, the long future. I think now the next steps is really kind of looking at the activities that we have been doing over the past year and seeing, hey, what has worked? What do we want to continue doing? How can we scale that? I think there are some exciting things that we want to do this year, like a ReFi hackathon. We actually did sponsor a hackathon track in Bogota in December, I believe, or November, that went super well because there were 13 teams and 8 of them decided to build in ReFi, like build something related to that. So we loved seeing that signal from the community. Like there were really cool projects. I remember one was like doing NFTs to access national parks. And I think there's 59 national parks in Colombia.
Wow.
Just like really cool stuff. So yeah, doing more activities with our community, but being very intentional about what we do and why we do it.
Yeah, I think that the hackathon stuff, the last year we were just a sponsor of a hackathon. It Colombia hackathon, we were sponsors, but more than the half of the teams decide to go for the ReFi track. So this is a really good signal. We want to do a hackathon, but by our own. Just a ReFi hackathon. Imagine it's not could be not the biggest hackathon in the world, but just a small hackathon, like 20, 50 people just trying to make some ideas, 3, 4, 5 submission projects. I think it's gonna be super cool to have this hackathon in Medellin.
Amazing. Love it, guys. Well, maybe some closing words, which is like, if there's anybody listening out there who's excited about what you're doing, either in Colombia and locally or broader, how can they get involved? How can they learn more? I'll start with you, Tereza. Like, what's one thing that people can do to support what you're doing?
Yeah, I think, as I said, the power is the network. So just reach out to us, let's talk about what you do, what we do. Let's see how we can collaborate, how we can promote each other, how we can, maybe intersect. Obviously, most of our activities are in the real world. But for example, if you're a Spanish speaker and want to learn English, we are I think happy to open our English classes to the international Latin American community. I think that would be pretty cool. We also do monthly Twitter spaces, bi-weekly, in ReFi Colombia Twitter. We do every 2 weeks is in Spanish and then in English. So we kind of switch it to be able to engage, our different, segments of the audience. But generally, yeah, come visit us, come hang out with us. Let's chat and let's keep growing.
Love it. Any call to actions from you, Juan? Any stuff that you want to get people into?
The best call action I can do is just donate to us. But no, but no, like Teresa say, all of our activities are on-terrain activities, but for example, we have a planting activity in 2 weeks. And for these planting activities, we are gonna try to use the Sylvie app to track the trees that we plant, because in the past we have done planting activities that we didn't track them, and we want to start tracking our activities. So those are the things that we are trying to improve. Sometimes I don't have a lot of time to connect with all the projects, but just reach out to Teresa, and the next step is like Teresa brings something and we decide together in the group. But normally the projects that Teresa brings to the table are good projects. So reach out to Teresa.
Awesome. Thanks so much, guys. Well, for those listening, x.com/ReFi Medellin. We'll have the links in the show notes below. What about reflections from you, Maya? This is obviously your first time coming on as co-host for ReFi Podcast. There's many more episodes to come. Any insights or learnings or any key nuggets of introspection that you want to share?
Oh, wow. Putting me on the spot here, John. I think I have kind of a twofold reflection on this. One focus on building a local node and really learning from the experience of ReFi Medellin. And the second part is being a co-host on a podcast, right? Watching the flow of the conversation, thinking about how to respond and, watch out for all those cues. I think from my first reflection on the ReFi Medellin, I just really feel inspired. I think what Tereza, Juan, and the team are doing in Colombia is truly such an example for all new local nodes. And little teaser, here locally in California, we're trying to build some local node activity. So seeing what you've done and also just gratitude to you for being real and sharing the process, what worked, what didn't work. I definitely want to borrow some of your takeaways. And I think the main thing that stood out to me, it's emphasis on collaboration. And I think that's so in the spirit of regeneration, the regenerative movement as a whole. In terms of my reflection on the podcast hosting, and I'm curious to hear Tereza's takes on that too. It can be a bit nerve-wracking, and it's interesting to see how the conversation flow changes, as I feel like at the beginning there's this sense of tension, and then over time, as we get deeper in those topics, that tension resolves. So it's definitely something to learn, and hopefully will improve through practice. Tereza, how was your experience being on the podcast?
No, loved it, but can't wait to be on the other side of the mic.
Oh yeah, that's what's up. That's what's up. Cool. Well, kudos,
Stay
you guys.
tuned soon.
Thanks for all your hard work. It's such a joy seeing this thesis of a global community of local nodes being validated by two absolutely brilliant leaders on the ground, organizing, hosting events, planting trees, setting up lending protocols, donating to local charities, getting people involved. I think this is a real testament to the power of community, the power of Web3. And this is what you guys have done in a single year. Imagine what you'll do in 10. I'm really, really stoked for this and grateful to have you on the show. And we'll see you guys on the other side. Have a good rest of your week.